Logical morning, everyone. Welcome to Vidikya Presents the Hindu Newspaper Analysis. Today's session will have following segments. First, overview of today's newspaper. Second, must-know topics and explanation. And third, quiz time with 5 important questions. So let's start with the segment first, that overview of today's newspaper. So the first important topic is fundamental duties must be enforced. A plea was filed in the Supreme Court. So in this topic, we will discuss about fundamental duties, when fundamental duties were inserted in the Constitution of India, how many fundamental duties are, and other important information related to fundamental duties. So Ukraine keeps India in loop, alleges disinformation drive. We have discussed a lot about Russia and Ukraine crisis. So when there will be something new, when we will discuss. Center denied more time in marital rape case. So the Delhi High Court has denied more time to center to respond on marital rape case issue. So talks with government conclusive, Anganwadi strike to continue. So Anganwadi workers are like in Delhi gathered together and giving strike. They're protesting in the Delhi to increase their wages and to improve their working condition. However, the nothing conclusive has been achieved till now, and the strike will continue. So this is what there in the news. So the main thing that was there in the news related to why they are doing strike is because they are looking for more better conditions and they're looking for a higher wages, as they are very important functionaries, health functionaries in the village level. They are the one who work at a grassroots level. Therefore, it is important to empower them, to increase their wages and to incentivize them, because at the community level, it is the role of Asha and Anganwadi workers who can play an important role in improving the health of the people. So most of the news are related to UP and Punjab elections. So nothing much there to remember. And this topic can be important, that caste census will benefit all, says Nitish Kumar. So the parties across India are demanding the central government to conduct a caste census. However, the government is not in favor of conducting caste census because there are many issues relating caste, regarding caste census, that if the data of a particular community comes low, then the community might think the data is first, and if the data of that community, percentage of that community is more, then the community might ask for more reservation because they have more population. So this is why there has been demand from all the sides that there should be caste census. However, government is apprehensive, central government is apprehensive of caste census. And one thing important, that whatever whichever the caste census that happens after 10 years, the data related to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes is there, but there is no data related to other backward classes are classified. And this is not also released in, even if this is classified, then not released. Only the data related to scheduled caste and scheduled tribe is released in the public. So Navy prepared for any contingency. COVID says. Ramnath Kovind says, President of India. So we have discussed about the presidential fleet review. So president was there in the Visakhapatnam for presidential fleet review, and he has said that Navy is prepared for any contingency. And in this regard, we have also discussed about the Milan exercise. So a red pen moment for corporate governance. It is related to the accountability issues and whatever other challenges, whatever other problems that were there regarding National Stock Exchange, and there was a lady who was accused of accountability and fraud. So this is an important topic. However, the news that is there in this topic is not much relevant. So in one of the explained session, I will take this topic and cover this topic in detail. So this is also related to UP election. Then use international law, call out China's violation. So we have discussed in one of our earlier sessions that there are multiple agreements between India and China on border management. However, this article talks about how China is violating these agreements, at the same time how China is also violating the international law. So this topic we will discuss in detail. This is related to cricket, India versus West Indies series. And then questions on Manrega budget estimation. In this topic, The topic mostly talks about the budget, that how much money was allocated in previous years and how much any money allocated in this year. So you do not have to remember about the money and all, how much funds are there in the budget last year, this year, how much budget is needed. But what is important is to know about Manrega. So we'll discuss about Manrega in detail. Then this fundamental duties we will discuss. Corbevax gets note for use in 20 to 12 to 18 age group. So this is a vaccine produced by Hyderabad company, biologically. Russia to recognize Ukraine rebel regions. So this we have discussed, but we will discuss about the rebel regions and what are the separatist force in operating in Donbas region. So this we have discussed already. So okay, let's start with second segment. The questions on Manrega budget estimation. This is the first topic that we'll discuss. The points for discussion: why in news about Manrega? The, so the topic was in news because of the funds that were allocated this year to the Manrega. So the disappointing allocation for the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act in financial year 2022-2023 budget has created a budge. It was in news because the budget has reduced, budget has been reduced a lot. So for financial year 2023, the PAEG had recommended, the committee, it is an organization, had recommended a minimum allocation of 2.64 lakh crore, and NSM has recommended 3.64 lakh crore, but the government has allocated only 73,000 crore. So this is why this topic in news. So if you want to remember, you can remember, but of no use. So now we will discuss about Manrega. So Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act was passed on 23rd August 2005. So you have to remember that Rega Act came in 2005. What is a mandate? So mandate, because this can be asked, this question can be asked in an exam. The provision of at least 100 days of work that provides guaranteed wage in a financial year. So the worker is entitled to 100 days work, 100 days work in financial year. So this is one thing you have to remember, that it provides 100 days work. So there is a Narega job card. It is a document that renders a worker entitled for work under the Narega scheme. Now, what are the main objectives? To provide 100 days of guaranteed wage employment to rural unskilled labor. So it is not, Narega scheme is not for a skilled worker, that one a skilled worker will go and say, I need a skilled work. So no, this is not related to a skilled worker. This is related to unskilled worker. So this is, you have to remember, and the objective is to increase economic security, because if people will get 100 days work in a financial year, then this will ensure their economic security and decrease migration of labor from rural to urban areas. We have seen the migration in urban areas from rural areas causing multiple problems in the cities, like slum development are there, hygiene problem, sanitation problem, other health issues are there. So with the Narega, when there will be 100 days of work available in the rural area, it will prevent the migration from rural to urban areas. So this is important. This is, you have to remember. And one more important thing is that Gram Panchayat is responsible to allot work within 15 days from the application of submission. So for example, on 1st of February, if a person submits his job application, the Gram Panchayat has to provide work within 15. By 15, the Gram Panchayat has to provide that person with unskilled work, for example, digging pond, construction labor for building community asset in village. So this is where it is important. So now, next topic, use international law, call out China's violation. So in this topic, we will discuss about India, China, the breach of law and weaponizing global law. So India, China, we have discussed in one of our explained session that since there is a border clashes between India and China along the line of actual control. We have also discussed about this Galwan clash. And then in one of the sessions, we have also discussed about that India and China have multiple border management agreement. For example, 1993 border management agreement, 1996 was there, 2013 was there. So there are multiple agreement between India and China how to manage border conflicts. So the article says the India-China LAC engagement is guided by a series of bilateral agreements that the two sides have signed over the years. So this is what I have taught you. The prohibition on the use of force is also enshrined in Article 1 and Article 7 of 2005 and 2013 agreement respectively. So there are four agreements: 1993, 1996, 2005 and 2013. So you have to remember, the question can be asked that which among the following is not a border management agreement between India and China. So the Article 1 and Article 8 of 2005 and 2013 agreement respectively prohibits use of force. So prohibits use of force, states being forbidden from using force in international relations in a cardinal rule of international law codified in Article 2, Clause 4 of UN Charter. So UN Charter's Article 2, Clause 4 also forbids from using force in international relations. This also forbids use of force in international relations. So this is what is important. So the UN Charter recognized two exceptions to this rule. So there are two exceptions to UN Article 2 Clause 4, and the first is self-defense. Under self-defense, the country can use force and UN Security Council authorization under Chapter 4. And when the UN Security Council, we have discussed UNSC, UN Security Council authorize the use of force, use of force under chapter 7. So what you have to remember these four agreements. Then under this article, it forbids use of force in international relation. However, there are exceptions that in there are two exceptions: one, that use of force in self-defense, and another when UNSC authorizes the use of force. So now weaponizing global law. So what does mean by weaponizing global law? So we'll discuss how China is weaponizing global law. So internationally, there are several examples of China weaponizing international law to further the will of China's Communist Party. First example, China fervently denounced the 2016 ruling in favor of Philippines by arbitration tribunal under the aegis of UNCLOS in a maritime dispute between the two sides in South China Sea. So there was dispute in South China Sea between China and Philippines. So under UNCLOS, UNCLOS is the international law of seas treaty, that is United Nations Convention law of the seas. Under this sea, a tribunal was constituted. And it gave award in favor of Philippines. However, China disregarded this award, and China said that China will not agree with the award, and China will not implement the award. So this is the one example which shows how China disregards the international law. Second, although China claims to be defender of international trade law regime at WTO, so it says China claims to itself to be the defender of international trade law at WTO. The fact is that it has ingeniously exploited the system to pursue its policy of mercantilism by hiding behind a non-transparent and complex economic system. It is accused of providing illegal subsidies, manipulating currency to make export competitive, stealing IPR, and forcing companies to transfer technology. So this second example says that China claims to be defender of international trade law regime at WTO. However, China is using this system, China is exploiting this system for its own benefit through illegal subsidies, currency manipulation, stealing IPR rights, and transfer of technology. So illegal subsidies. Now we'll discuss about currency manipulation a little bit. So how currency manipulation affects the export. So currency manipulation affects this. For example, let's take in the context of India. For example, $1 is equal to 70 rupees. Now what happens that India manipulates its currency and makes it $1 becomes 80. So when Indian product will go to USA, it will be cheaper. It will be cheaper in USA, and therefore it will be cheaper in USA, and therefore India's export will grow in USA. So that's what country does. So country manipulates their currency to increase their export, to make their product more competitive. So China has been accused of currency manipulation along with illegal subsidy. So these are the two examples of weaponizing global law, how China is disregarding the international tribunal which was constituted under UNCLOS, and then how China is exploiting WTO rules to favor its own regime and its own market. So suggestion for India, since India is in dispute with China for a long time on border issues. So what are the suggestions for China in this article? So it says that India should make a strong legal case by painstakingly marshalling all the international treaty, including UN Charter and customary international law, at every forum to call out China's illegal. So it says that India should use all the available legal mechanisms such as international treaties, UN Charter, customary law, customary international law, and use of all these to call out China's illegal action. So this is one thing this article talks about, that calling out China is one option in the international forum, and an unequivocal proclamation should be made at all international platforms that India reserves the right to act in self-defense, and India should also tell that India reserves right to self-defense. If in case China gets aggressively and try to come inside the Indian border, India has right to self-defense, under Article 51 of UN Charter. So this is another option. Now also says enacting a national security law aimed at imposing restrictions or sanction of various kinds on those countries with whom India shares a land border can be option. It also says enacting national security law to impose sanctions on various fronts such as trade, economic, military, on those countries which shares border with India. So which all countries shares border with India? So there are Pakistan, then China, Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Myanmar. So land border. So these countries share land border with India. Pakistan, China, Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Myanmar. Now another topic is, so in this topic we have discussed about the agreements, the UN Charter, and like how China is weaponizing global law, and we have discussed the suggestions for India. So not much to remember, just you have to remember that there are 4 border management agreement, and you have to remember the year in which they were signed. And yes, that's all. That's all important for CLAT examination. Now, another important topic is Russia to recognize Ukraine rebel region. So we have discussed a lot about Russia-Ukraine crisis, why there is a crisis. We have discussed about NATO. We have discussed about Western involvement, West involvement in crisis. We have discussed about Nord Stream pipeline, Nord Stream and Nord Stream 2 pipeline. We have discussed about Donbas region. So now there's nothing new, but there's one thing new about this topic. That is what Russia to recognize Ukraine rebel regions. So this is Ukraine, this is Russia, this is Ukraine. And we have also discussed the Crimea. This was annexed by Russia in 2014. In 2014. So this is a region in Ukraine. This region is known as Donbas region. In Donbas region, there are two separatists that there are two activated groups in this region who are pro-Russia, and these groups are Luhansk and Donetsk. So Russian President Vladimir Putin will recognize the independence of Eastern Ukraine Separatist Republic. So what is there in news? So Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that he will recognize the two republics, that is Luhansk Republic and Donetsk Republic. These are the separatist group operating in Ukraine's eastern region, that is Donbas region. So this is in the news. So you have to remember that Donbas region, this question can be asked, Donbas region in which country, and this can be asked which of the two are the like separatist group operating in Donbas region. So there are two separatist group, that is Luhansk and Donetsk. And then other important information we have already discussed, Nord Stream pipeline, NATO we have discussed, and then we have discussed annexation of Crimea Peninsula. So all other information have already discussed. So this was the new development in Russia-Ukraine crisis that we have discussed now. So this was also in news that Corbevax gets note for use in 12 to 18 age group. So the Director General of India directed drugs. So the drugs controller, sorry. So the Drugs Controller General of India, DCGI, has given emergency use authorization to vaccine maker biologically COVID-19 vaccine Corbevax for 12-18 group. So DCGI gave emergency use authorization to Corbevax vaccine for 12 to 18 age group. So it is produced by Hyderabad's Biological E. So you have to remember that which company is producing this vaccine, Corbevax E. And this vaccine is administered through an intramuscular route, and two doses scheduled 28 days apart, and it is stored at 2 to 8 degree. So not much to remember, just you have to remember that Corbevax vaccine is developed by Biological E facilities in Hyderabad. Now this is important question. Like fundamental duties must be enforced. And another topic is enforce fundamental duties, says petition in Supreme Court. So why this topic was in news, and then we will also discuss about fundamental duties. So this topic was in news. The Supreme Court on Monday asked the union and the state government to respond to a petition to enforce the fundamental duties of citizens, including patriotism and unity of nation through comprehensive, well-defined law. So the petitions have been filed in Supreme Court asking that central government and state government should be enforcing fundamental duties through law, by enforcing law. So what are the current position on fundamental duties? Where are fundamental duties placed in the constitution, and how many fundamental duties are there? So this becomes important for exam about fundamental. So about fundamental duties. Fundamental duties are provided under Article 51A of Constitution of India. So first thing you have to remember that Article 51A of Constitution of India. Second thing you have to remember, it is provided under Part 4 of Constitution of India. Now, originally when the Constitution was enacted, fundamental duties were not there. So when these fundamental duties came in, so it came in 1976 by Constitution Amendment. Which Constitution Amendment? 42nd Constitution Amendment in 1976. So another thing you have to remember is the fundamental duties were recommended by a committee known as Soran Singh Committee. Soran Singh Committee. By 42nd Amendment, on the basis of recommendation of Soran Singh Committee in 1976, 10 fundamental duties were inserted in Constitution of India under Article 51A. So this is, you have to remember that Article 51A, Part 4, 1976, 42nd Amendment, Soran Singh Committee, and then there were 10 fundamental duties. However, later in 2002, one more fundamental duty was added by 86th Amendment. So earlier in 1976, when inserted, there were 10, and but plus 1 in 2002. So in total, there are 11 fundamental duties. So now what are the provisions related to fundamental duties? So fundamental duties are confined only for citizens. So fundamental duties are confined only for citizens. Only for citizens and not for foreigners. So this is one thing you have to remember. This can be asked related to fundamental duties, that it is available, it is extended to foreigners also. So no, it is not extended to foreigners, it is only extended to citizens. Second point, non-justiciable. So the constitution does not provide for their direct enforcement. The non-justiciable means the constitution does not provide for their direct information enforcement. So it says that these are mentioned in the constitution, but you cannot go directly saying that these are mentioned in the constitution, therefore it should be enforced. However, the parliament is free to enforce them by suitable legislation. However, in order to enforce fundamental duties, the parliament can enact the law for their enforcement. For their enforcement. So these are the three important things you have to remember. So there are 11 fundamental duty. So now job is to your homework is to learn these fundamental duties. Some of them I'll tell you. First is to abide by constitution and respect its ideals and institutions, the national flag and national anthem. Second, to cherish and follow the Nobel idea that inspired the national struggle for freedom. Third, to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. Fourth, to defend the country and render national service when called upon. So I've told you four. There are 11 fundamental duties. You just go Google them and learn them. So this is your homework related to fundamental duties. So one more thing I'll tell, talk about fundamental duties. That some of the fundamental duties are moral duties and some are civic duties. What do you mean by moral and civic duty? For instance, cherishing noble ideas of freedom struggle is a moral precept. For example, cherishing noble ideas of freedom struggle is moral duty, is moral. However, when it comes to respecting the constitution, national flag, and national anthem, so for example, respecting national flag, national anthem, and constitution. These are civic duty. So these are divided between moral and civic duty. So this is all you have to remember related to fundamental duties. So we have discussed 5 topics. First, we have discussed about Narega. Then we have discussed about in Narega we have discussed about the objectives of Narega, 100 days skill work, 100 days unskilled work in rural areas, and then it talks about that work should be given within 15 days. Then we have discussed about weaponizing global law. We have discussed about Russia recognizing two separatist region in Donbass region, that is Luhansk and Donetsk. And then we have discussed about Corvax vaccine, and then we have discussed about fundamental duties. So it's time for G quiz. So first question is, under Narega provision of at least days of work that provides guaranteed wage in financial year. So under Narega provision of at least how many days? So you have to fill in the blanks, how many days? Your options are 50 days, 100 days, 150 days, 200 days. The correct option is 100 days. We have discussed this, that 100 days of unskilled work within 15 days, 100 days of unskilled work within 15 days, 15 days in a financial year. Now, Narega Act was enacted. Question 2, Narega Act was enacted in which year? Your options are A, 2001, 2003, 2005, 2007. The correct option is 2005. It was enacted in the year 2005. Question 3, which committee recommended fundamental duties? Your options are Fazal Ali Commission, Dhar Commission, Soran Singh Commission, Santhanam Commission. The correct option is Soran Singh Commission. So for your information, Fazal Ali and Dhar Commission is related to reorganization of state on linguistic basis. So, and Soran Singh Committee recommended fundamental duties. Santhanam Committee recommended Chief Vigilance Commission. Question 4. Fundamental duties were added by which constitution amendment? Your options are 41st, 42nd, 43rd, 44th. And the correct option is 42nd in the year 1976 on recommendation of Soran Singh Committee. In 1970, later in 2002 with 86th Amendment, one more added. So total became 11 fundamental duties. Question 5, which of the following is correct? A. Fundamental duties are confined to citizens only. Fundamental duties are non-justiciable. They can be enforced by a law enacted by Parliament. Option D, all of the above. The correct option is all of the above. So that's all in today's session. Your homework is to remember the 11 fundamental duties and remember all the four land border management agreement between India and China. So yes, that's all important for your CLAT examination. Stay logical with Vidikya, your best pal in CLAT preps.